I was on the Know Your Why podcast with my guy, Dr. Jason B. We were talking about all things real estate investing, how I've been able to build and scale my real estate career and how I've been able to pour into others. So this was actually a really great and insightful podcast. I did this one virtually because me and Dr. Jason were in different areas, of course, but we had some great conversation. I feel like you guys could get some great insights from it. So we're bringing you this conversation. So just keep watching to hear our conversation and make sure that you share it with a friend if you found something valuable, and subscribe to this page so we can keep on bringing you some more great conversations and great videos.
Right now, how I'm focused on doing that is really building out the tech, because I know that's how we're going to be able to scale it and grow it, because we're going to have repeatable processes that can work in literally any market. I feel like if it can work in our market, if I can get it to work in another market, why can't I replicate it among 98 other locations?
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi, everyone. I am Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today, I'm here with Chris A. Williams, the owner of the Assets Real Estate Team and First Class Real Estate Equity Group. He's a top-ranked real estate investor and entrepreneur in Hampton Roads. And so, Chris, as I mentioned, I'm going to let you tell your story. I feel it always sounds better that way. But first, I want to say thank you. Thanks for coming on the show today. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy. Sounds like you had a long day yesterday. So I am grateful that you are here to share your story with me and my audience. So thanks for being here.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Jason, for having me. I'm definitely excited to share my story and hopefully give as much value as I can to the audience. And hopefully if they can just pick up, one little nugget, one piece of advice, then I think it's worth it at the end of the day. So definitely looking forward to it, and it's an honor.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, let's just start with your story. Tell us your background. Tell us kind of, where you started and how you got to where you are today. And then I'm sure I'll have plenty of questions.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I have a super complicated story, to be honest with you. And if I told my whole story, this would be a 10-hour long podcast, which nobody wants. So I'll kind of give like a brief Cliff Notes version or such. When I started in real estate, I didn't have like any inkling, any background, anything like that in real estate. I didn't have parents who did real estate. I mean, honestly, before probably, I'll say 6 months before I became a licensed real estate agent, I didn't know anything about real estate except the houses where you lived in. That's really the only thing I knew about real estate.
That's what a lot of people know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I found real estate actually sort of when I was 19 years old, I'll say. I was originally a football player. That's kind of what I was known for in my area, was for being a pretty good football player. Right before college, I ended up, losing my scholarship due to circumstances that had nothing to do with me. And I was just looking for a new direction in life. And the jobs I was working at the time were Enterprise and at Foot Locker, both sort of in sales in a sense. Especially for Foot Locker, selling shoes. But at Enterprise specifically, a lot of people think I was that guy, selling, cars and talking to customers front facing. I wasn't that. I was actually the guy that was cleaning the cars out in the back that nobody would talk to. So during that time, I actually enjoyed it because I had a lot of free time, time to intake information. And instead of listening to music, things like that, what I did was I watched podcasts or listened to podcasts constantly. And one of the main podcasts that I was listening to was a real estate specific podcast. And I'm like, okay, I'm 19 at the time and I don't really have any direction in life. So, hey, this real estate thing seems cool. And I know we'll talk about this later, but what I realized the host was talking about was real estate investing. I'm like, dang, I'm 19 years old. I don't have any money. I can't do real estate investing. Dang it. But real estate really intrigued me. So I'm like, all right, let me see what's the next best option. And real estate popped up. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm already working at Foot Locker selling shoes. Hey, if I can sell shoes, I can sell houses, no problem, right? So I decided to try my hand in real estate. And, that was in 2020. I got licensed. So I actually celebrated 5 years of being licensed recently. And now to this day, I've been able to scale out of being a real estate agent to now, leading my real estate team and, leading a real estate investing company, leading real estate brokerage. And, real estate has granted me plenty of opportunities. So now what I like to do is just give back, teach others how to get started in real estate, how to invest in real estate, and try their hand in real estate themselves.
Yeah, amazing. You're young, and I mean, young and still young. Started young, still young, and have had a ton of success. And
Thank you.
I mean, I love hearing that. Like people that took, I just get super excited about like people that are thinking about this stuff at a young age because I think the biggest weapon that we have in investing is time, right?
Yeah,
So if you're starting to think about that at 19, 20, like you're probably light years ahead of anyone else because they're people spend a lot of time not thinking about that, and sometimes we think about it only at a time when it's never too late, but where it's like,
yeah,
oh, if I had just given this some thought, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever the case may be, it can be a life changing spot to be in. So
yeah.
I mean, congratulations to you. I'm
Thank
super
you.
excited to hear more about this journey. So selling shoes, it's the same thing as selling houses, right? I guess that was the thought process anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought.
I think, I mean, I do think that's maybe an oversimplification, but I do think people who are good at sales are good at sales. Like it, and it's just it's a skill that translates. And I think there's a lot of people in the real estate world that come from some type of sales background. I've had
Yeah.
a number of people on the podcast that worked for
Mhm.
Cutco sales reps. I mean, just like different medical sales people. And so it's something that I actually never did. I was never in sales, and it is a skill, and it's a hard skill to acquire. So if that's your foundation, I actually think that gives you quite a big advantage. So
Yes.
talk about that, the early transition from Foot Locker to moving into to being a real estate agent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm definitely glad you mentioned that. So the funny thing is with Foot Locker, I was in sales, but I didn't have like sales training, sales experience. Like people read books on sales and go to seminars, stuff like that. I
Mhm.
didn't know that. I mean, we had training at Foot Locker, but it's Foot Locker. It's not super in-depth sales training, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, and I was kind of, what's the word? I like the freestyle in a sense of my sales, and I simplified it. Instead of finding the perfect scripts or the right things to say, all I would do is see, okay, this customer walked in, what are they looking for, and what is their specific problem that they have. So somebody may walk in, they're like, okay, I want to run track or something like that, and I need shoes that make me fast. Okay, cool, I'm going to point you to the shoes that make you fast, and that's how we're going to address that situation. And when I'm talking to them also too, I would just build rapport with them, because in Foot Locker we had these things, I forgot, I think it was called hookups, I believe, where we would get for because we were getting commission also too at Foot Locker. We would get a commission boost, and it will reflect better on the leaderboard when we gave people hookups. And hookups were like if we upsold them on not shoes, but socks and t-shirts and
Right.
things like that. So when I'm talking to these people, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, hookups too, but I'm always thinking about their problem at the end of the day. So, all right, you want to run track and you want to get fast. All right, cool. We got these shoes for you, but check out these compression socks that are going to make these shoes feel even lighter. So this is going to increase your time by 0.10 of a second to really give you that difference. And okay, now you won your race. You're looking good. You're in your gold medal. Don't you want to have a nice T-shirt with you also too? So I just
Yeah.
constantly upsold people just doing that method, just by figuring out what was their specific pain and figure out based on their pain exactly why I could help them. So transitioning to real estate, that was kind of my mindset with it too. The only difference, between shoes and t-shirts and socks, real estate, you're dealing with a much larger investment, so you really got to know what you're talking about. And that was the issue. I mean, I struggled tremendously, especially my first year. It was a huge struggle because I came in, with the confidence, with the swagger, but I had no information. And people, I sound young. I know I sound young, and I look young also too. So I would be talking to people, and people were like, how old are you? And that's not one thing that you want to hear when you're
Yeah.
talking about people doing hundreds of $1,000s investment at this point.
Right.
So I really had to take a step back for a second. It's like, okay, cool, you can do sales, but let's actually study some of these scripts. Let's figure out the proper things to say. Let's figure out these objection handlers, and let's really up our knowledge, information. So now, I mean, at this point, I love my acquisition appointments specifically, like because I love giving the information to people, and that's what's been able to help, get me over the edge. Like I always take pride in this. I haven't had a single appointment with the seller in which they've asked for proof of funds or they've even really checked to see if I submitted my earnest money deposit, just because the information that I give them, the rapport that I build with them, they don't care. Like they believe everything that I say because the information that I can give them. So I think that's the biggest difference. When you can combine the information with sales, I think you can be an unstoppable force.
Yeah, I think. I mean, a couple of things like the authenticity. I think that you possess and show, just being yourself and approaching those. You can go back to that Foot Locker example, but like approaching those things as like, trying to understand where people are and meet them at that. And I think it does translate. Again, we said sales is sales in a way. It does translate in that if you can go in with these. So when you're talking about right now, you're talking about acquisition appointment. You're talking about like a real estate investment type of acquisition, right? Not for a listing. You're
Yeah,
talking.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
yeah. When I say acquisition, definitely
Yeah.
investing. Of course, when I started, I wasn't, on the investing side, but now I've transitioned more to that side and such.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, it's essentially, proof of concept or whatever you want to say, just being
Mhm.
able to intelligently speak the language of real estate and guide people, but also like not complicate it so much that they don't understand. So it is a bit of a fine line to walk, like showing that you have the knowledge, but also presenting it in a way that they can understand. I think is actually a pretty valuable skill to have. So that's great. Now, so tell me, your bio said the first year of sales, you I think sold two properties. Um, Tell me a bit about, you became a licensed real estate agent.
Hmm.
What was How did that progress to your own brokerage, bringing in investing? Because it's actually a funny thing I've often wondered about. So many real estate brokers, whether it's in the single family side, residential or commercial, so many of them don't actually invest in real estate, and it's like it boggles my mind because I'm like, you have front row access to the deals, like it where like is this is a good deal, you have ways to kind of obtain that information, and so many people don't do it, but you did. So I want to maybe have you walk us through like the early time, like the first couple years, and how you've kind of grown and transitioned your business.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, like you mentioned, my first year was just such a struggle, to be honest with you. I only sold two homes my first year. Um, yeah, that was tough. That was a very tough time. And in which, I had thoughts of, quitting real estate. I'm like, okay, real estate, maybe it's not the thing for me. Maybe I am too young to
Mhm.
actually do real estate. But I just kept on the hard work. And that was the thing also too that really discouraged me, was because I was doing all the hard work. I was the first one in the office, the last one out, reaching out to all the leads, doing all the cold calls. I was doing everything that I was supposed to. It just simply wasn't working for me. But at that time, but what I realized was I was just being prepared for when it was my time,
Mhm.
and I just had to, practice patience. And I honestly think about it during this time, like as I'm reflecting, I'm like, I actually thank God, He didn't bless me during that time, because I just simply wasn't ready to. I wasn't ready for that blessing. Like
Yeah.
even if I would have, closed even let's say one deal a month, I would have just blew it all. I would have just wasted it all just because I just wasn't emotionally mature. But that being said, the very next year I was able to go from two deals sold to 24 deals sold. So, a very big jump. And I mean, a lot of that contributes to I listened, I have faith, and I made the changes in my life like I was supposed to. And, I pretty much removed my ego because I had been humbled from my very tough first year.
It helps sometimes. It helps to
It
get
helps.
a
It
little
really
piece of slice of humble pie, if you will.
does, 100%. So yeah, I mean that was the second year. And then right after that year, I purchased my first house, my first personal home. The struggle though with that was, so actually before I even get into that, after I purchased my first personal home, I took 6 months off because I took 6 months off right after that because my first where I was at the time, they kind of taught like you had made it in life in a sense once you were making six figures and once you had brought a personal home. So I did this, but I'm 22. This is the issue. So I'm like, okay, where do I go in life? I'm 22. I'm making over six figures. I have a personal home. I don't have any kids, any responsibilities, and anything like that. So I mean, I took the time off and I was just enjoying my life. But the thing is, like, I've always just tried to think bigger and try to think more and just expand. And even though I like traveling and all that, I felt like, hey, you need to get back to it. Like, you're 22, you got a lot of life to live still.
Yeah.
So I was exploring different options, and I wanted a very. I knew I needed to change my environment. I knew that 100% because your net worth is determined by your network. I knew that 100%. So I need to change my environment, and I was looking for very particular things in the environment in which I was going to transition to. And I had a very specific list. I'm like, okay, if everything doesn't hit this list, I'm not even entertaining it. And I got a random call one day as I was looking from somebody who is one of my business partners now, who was like, "Hey, I saw you on Instagram, interested in you, bringing you onto my company and things like that." And I'm like, because at the time a lot of people were reaching out and such. So I was like, I wasn't paying much attention to it. I decided, I did, decide to talk with him further on it. And what he told me he was looking to do, and what he was looking to do for me also was almost like I had read him my exact list verbatim. And I know that I hadn't because I had no idea who this man was. And I hadn't told anybody really like what I was looking for. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. This is really interesting. So I heard him out more on it, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm gonna make a decision soon. I'm gonna let you know. And I made that decision, and I let him know, and it was very scary to make that leap because going from the first place that you're at to going somewhere else, it can be very scary. But I, just prayed about it, and I just knew. I remember saying to myself, like, hey, this one move, this can completely change the course of my career, or it will change the course of my career, and this can be for the good and it can improve my career tremendously, or it just could completely wipe my career out and kick me out of real estate. But just thinking, hey, I had a very terrible first year, so I can go back. It doesn't matter. I've been at rock bottom before. We can always go up. And so I joined over there, and that's kind of how I got my intro into real estate investing. Because where I was at before, they said do not work with investors; it's a waste of time, and especially don't work with wholesalers; it's a waste of time. Now, the group that I joined, they specialize in wholesaling, and they kind of use that to feed the real estate funnel, the real estate team, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, okay, if there was a wholesale deal they couldn't monetize off of, whether the seller wanted too much or whatever, then we would list it on the market, and then we
Mm-hmm.
were able to build relationships that way. So that's how that company was able to scale. And yeah, I mean, I was with them for, I want to say, about 2 years, kind of doing that thing, and watching them do that. I hadn't done any investments myself. I was just kind of watching it happen. And then about 2 years flew by, so last year actually, and I was like, this is interesting. Like, I'm doing really good as an agent, but I feel like it's time to grow again. So that's when I decided to found my company, the Assets Real Estate Team, and we branched off into our own team, and we kind of had that same mindset, like using the investing arm also to help fund the real estate team. And also that's when I became an investor myself. I was my first deal I actually purchased was a rental property. I know a lot of people do wholesale to flip to buy rentals. I did a I purchased a rental first, then I did a wholesale, then I did a flip. I want to say that was kind of my order. Um, so yeah, I mean, how I started investing was just watching other people do it, and then I'll say, okay, I feel confident to do it myself, and I just did it. And now we're here where we're at now today.
I really hope that many, many young people listen to that, what you just said. And there's a few things, I didn't want to interrupt you, but there's a few things that, like, really important, I guess, nuggets for people to understand, like things that you did. And I think one was just work ethic and hustle. You said you were, despite the results not being great in that first year, you were putting in the work, and it was tempting to quit, but you didn't. I think that is incredibly important piece, because now fast forward, it's only been 5 years. It's
Yeah.
only been 5 years. Like, and you just told us you took 6 months off, and the first year you only sold two houses. Like, it's only been 5 years, people. Like, that's not that's not a long time to put in the work and like get to a place that you have achieved. The other thing I think that I picked up from your story was kind of a level of self-awareness that you've developed through all this, and that um, you took some time off, realized, hey, maybe I'm not ready to retire at 22. Like, things like that, I think are just, I think the at a young age, you can take those pauses, you can take those, you're not in a rush, and you can figure it out. uh
Mm-hmm.
you The other part about that you said that I loved was when you took this job with the real estate company, it would change your life, and that could be for the good, and that could be for the bad, and you still did it. And so many people will, they only look at it like, oh well, if it doesn't work out, then I'm worse off than I am right now. And it's like, well, if it does work out, you're way better off than you are right now. And
Yeah.
I think that's like, I just love the way you kind of presented it. Like, yeah, it's going to change things for me in one direction or the other, like recognizing that. And then that, because if you see that, you can almost formulate a plan that says, okay, for this to go poorly, what's going to happen? For this to go really, really well, what's going to happen? And guess what? I'm going to funnel all my resources towards that going well.
Yep.
And it's just the recognition of that at that crossroads, that might not go well. Well, I mean, what's the worst thing that happens? Like, you just start again, but now with all of this knowledge, like, it's okay. So I mean, there was so much in there, Chris, that I really liked, and I didn't want to interrupt you. And um, so you took what some might consider an even bigger risk and went out kind of on your own to do your own thing. Um, but you used the things that you had learned,
Mm-hmm.
up to that point to go. So, what does it look like now? Like, what is the business model? What does your company look like? How paint us a picture of kind of where it's at today.
Yeah, yeah. So, regarding the assets real estate team, we're doing well, I would say. I mean, we started last year. Last year we sold 182 homes, did about 58 million in sales. So I think we did pretty good last year. This year, we're looking to duplicate that or do even better, to be honest with you. We have about 15 agents currently, and we're constantly getting bigger. We're constantly growing, and I feel like I've really evolved, as a business owner, in a sense. Like, I do think of business in a lot different ways versus when I first started it. I thought more so like an agent, and it was I was almost like a glorified agent as a team lead when I first started. But now I've been able to, take that hat off where I'm thinking of it as a business, running it as a business as so. I mean, it's been cool because I've been able to, gain staff and, promote people. And, it's really cool seeing that company grow. So I'm super excited for the future for us. I mean, my goal with that, my personal goal, like my biggest goal, is tied to that specific company, and that's growing it to 100 locations in the next 5 years. So right now, how I'm focused on doing that is really building out the tech, because I know that's how we're going to be able to scale it and grow it, because we're going to have repeatable processes that can work in literally any market. I feel like if it can work in our market, if I can get it to work in another market, why can't I replicate it among 98 other locations?
Yeah.
So, that's what it is regarding assets, real estate. I mean, regarding me and investing, I'm always looking for deals. Even though most of my time is spent towards growing and scaling assets, real estate, I'm still looking for deals. Like, I don't like fix and flips, to be honest, which I know a lot that may be contrary to what a lot of investors, say, but I like my long term rentals. And we may get into it, sort of my strategy with that. I don't like traditional so I should reframe what I say. Instead of long term rentals, long term investment properties. I don't like the traditional long term rental model just because there's so many variables with that. I like to be a bit more hands off. You kind of got to be hands on in a sense, even if you have a property manager, if you have a long term rental. I like mine under like wraps, like seller finance situations. That's how I like to do my model for my long term investment properties. So I'm always looking for those deals, um, and wholesaling, of course. Uh, yeah, and the great thing with that business is assets real estate, they can both combine into each other too. Like I just
Yeah.
did a wholesale a couple of weeks ago with, I mean, for assets real estate, we pay for Zillow leads to come in. Um, and these are buyer leads. So a buyer lead came in through Zillow, and that specific buyer, they had a house that they needed to sell. The house was pretty messed up. It couldn't go on the market. I came in originally, I wanted to flip it. I realized that, hey, too big of a project for me, too much of a headache for me. All right, cool. Let me just assign it to one of my investor friends. Okay, great. Had a good profit from it. And the agent was able to still get paid from the deal because she was able to help them out. I was also able to get paid from the deal because my agents are on a split, of course, and I was able to get paid from the assignment fee. So it all is so cool because it's like an all big funnel,
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I'm doing now. That's my world today.
Yeah, oh, that's great. Yeah, I mean, they feed each other, and I think that's a when you like as an entrepreneur when you start to do like multiple businesses, things like that, having investment properties, all of that. I mean, it does make it. It's to be a bit strategic about it. It makes it a lot easier if you're like, okay, well, I've got this, business that's in real estate. Now I've got this other business that's real estate adjacent. I've got the, and they can kind of feed each other in a lot of ways. I think that's tremendously beneficial rather than being in a scenario where you're like just completely opposite
Yeah,
businesses. At some point, people, private equity companies do things like that where they're just like, we own all these different businesses, but then what you really are is an investor in those businesses.
correct.
And so
Yep.
if you're kind of still operationally involved, you have to really think strategically and be, if not completely vertically integrated, maybe spokes on the wheel, if you will. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, I love the strategy. I love, kind of the focus and the outlook and the vision of 100 locations. I think is phenomenal. So,
Thank you.
um, congratulations to you. I mean, already a ton of success at a young age, with I'm sure lots more to come.
Thank you.
Um, well, Chris, let me sort of pivot here. I want to ask you the questions that I ask every guest, and the first one is based on the name of the show being Know Your Why. So everyone gets asked this question: what is your why? Um, I'm you are young, and I think that one thing that I've seen, with the different guests is a lot of times there's an evolution of why, and so you haven't been in business for decades. Some
Mhm.
of my guests have, and they have their why has changed. But so I'm interested, kind of what's the motivating force for you at this point in your career?
Yeah, that's great. I'm super glad you asked me that question because my why has changed so much in these 5 years. I feel like it changes like every year, to be honest with you. And my previous why, I don't remember what my previous why was, but I know it's not the same as my current why that I'm gonna say. My current why that I'm gonna say is, I mean, I don't think I've really shared this before. Maybe it's a new revelation that I just had now that you asked. But I would say my current why is I want to be an example for others to show you it's possible that regardless of where you come from, regardless of how you look, regardless of your age, anything like that, none of that matters. Like it's possible. Anything is possible. You just got to put in the work. You got to have faith. You just got to believe in yourself, and no matter literally what happens, it doesn't matter what happens, despite all the external circumstances that you see, all the negative self-talk that you may have for yourself. You got to always remember it's possible. You can do literally whatever you want in life. So
Love
I
it.
just want to be an example of that.
I love it. I love it. And I completely agree. And anything is possible. It doesn't mean it's easy, but I mean, anything
Yeah.
is possible. So I love it. I love that. I love the idea of you being that, that vision, that inspiration for people. I think that's phenomenal. So
Thank you.
awesome. When people hear this and they want to reach out to you, they want to connect, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah. So I'm very active on YouTube. At I am Chris A. Williams. That's where I'm giving out a lot of free content on both anything real estate, but also a lot of real estate investing too, different types and tips and things like that. I'm very active on Instagram and Facebook too, both under the same name. I am Chris A. Williams, and I just restarted my TikTok up there also too. So yeah, they can reach out to me. Look at any social platform at I am Chris A. Williams, and I'm up there.
Okay, perfect. And we'll put all that in the show notes. I want to ask you, Chris, you are young, you have been successful already. Your why is about sort of being that inspiration, that picture of how would you suggest other people get started? I mean, what steps do you think are a good kind of, I don't know, launching point for people who hear this and they're like, yeah, I'm fired up. I want to be that guy. I want to do what he's doing. What would you tell them is a good place to start?
Yeah. So I think it really varies on exactly how they want, like what type of method they want to start. Do they want to get started as an agent? Do they want to get started as an investor? If they want to get started as an investor, what specific thing do they want to do? But regardless, if we're talking, broad paintbrush stroke, I would say, okay, what do you want to do specifically? And then find the most successful person in your hometown that does that, and go to them and literally do anything that you can for them. So if you got to get coffee for them, go get coffee for them. If you got to do their driving for dollars, do that, because from them, you're going to gain so much knowledge. You're going to gain so much experience. Now, why you're doing the stuff for them is because you are looking to get their knowledge from them. And a lot of successful people, they're very busy and such. So you can't just be like, hey, can you take 30 minutes of a coffee break with me so you can give me information and I don't give you anything in return? No, that's not fair. You got to give them something back. So that's why I say go to them and provide them value. And I promise you, even if they don't pay you anything, you're going to learn so much. From the information that you learn from them is going to be way more valuable than any monetary thing, a monetary amount that they could have gave you. So I think that's where I would recommend someone, if you want to start today, just find the very most successful person and get close to them as possible, and make sure you give to them also too.
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree more. I think the apprenticeship model is underutilized a ton. Like, just
Yeah.
like you said, find someone in your hometown that's like, they're probably sponsoring a little league team. Like, go find that person. Like, it shouldn't be hard, and just work for them.
Yes.
I think people are maybe reluctant to work for free, but it's not. You are getting paid. You're just getting paid in experience and knowledge, and it's actually, you mentioned that person's busy. They're not just going to want to sit down with you and tell you, but also, you're not going to learn anything in that time. You're not going to learn it by sitting down with them for 30 minutes. Like, there's no way. I don't care how, like, if you got the chance to sit down with Warren Buffett today for 30 minutes, it would be amazing. Like, that would be super cool. It's not going to make you a good investor. Like, there's no chance that's going to make you a good investor. If you had the opportunity to go work in one of his companies, that's how you actually learn something. So I think it's just understanding that it does take it takes an investment in yourself, but it takes an investment, whether that's time, money, resources, whatever it is. It's going to take something to get you there. So, Chris, I love this. I think this has been a phenomenal conversation. I really appreciate having you on today. I think it's just been really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you for being there. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. I definitely appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for having me on. But like I say, my goal at the end of the day is just to be able to give some value. Hope the audience can pick up, at least one nugget, and that they can not just listen to it, but they can implement it. That's a very important thing to me that I want to stress the importance of. Guys, if you intake information, which you should, make sure you implement it. Make sure you do something with it. Don't be that person that, you have a notebook full of things and, you have a mind full of ideas and you don't implement it. Actually do those things and know that you're going to fail. Know you're not going to be good yet. Emphasis, you're not going to be good yet. But the quickest way to get good is just through action. So thank you again, Jason. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Folks, I know you're going to love this episode. Make sure you connect with Chris. Please like, rate, and review the show so we can keep getting more great guests. And as always, thank you for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Ballara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?